Hello everyone, and this is Kevin Annett, Eagle Strong Voice. It's April 29th, 2021, and I have an update and message to you from yours truly and also the National Council of the Republic of Kanata. It's entitled, All That Is Hidden is Being Revealed, Rising as a New Nation as the Old World Collapses. We are at a crossroads moment in our long battle to overcome tyranny. And this message is for all of you who have not given up the fight, who still struggle and fight within the ranks of our sovereign Republic of Kanata, and also to our allies at home and abroad. Well, years ago I heard a lecture in Vancouver which speaks very much to our present situation. The lecture was given by a surviving member of the German resistance movement against Hitler. His name was Wolf-Dieter Zimmermann, and he helped found the Confessing Church that united Christian pastors who were opposed to Nazism at a time when the Vatican and all the German churches were backing Hitler's totalitarian regime. Well, Zimmermann's words are especially relevant to us as we battle the COVID police state, and as that state escalates every day. At one point during his talk, someone asked Zimmermann how people he knew responded to Hitler's actual coming to power, and Zimmermann said these words: "Many people looked for ways to immediately resist the Nazis with demonstrations, strikes, and pamphleteering. Those people were defeated or died quickly because they did not understand that they faced a new kind of enemy. Instead, a few of us in the Confessing Church withdrew to a small community called Finkenwald to search for the inner clarity and the will to sustain our resistance over the years ahead. We knew that Nazism would not disappear overnight because it was not a foreign entity, but had emerged from among us. It had to be resisted spiritually as well as politically, but only by us first baring our souls and accepting our own complicity and responsibility for it. We could not fight an evil so profound with our inner blindfolds on." Well, Zimmermann precisely described our situation today. Those who claim to be opposing the COVID tyranny do not understand what it is they're fighting, if their words and deeds mean anything. Like the anti-Nazi Germans in 1933, they are waving placards and protesting with their minds in the past, without realizing that they're facing a new evil that has emerged from among them. And that inner blindfold is leading many of them up a blind alley and over a cliff. Well, instead, a handful of us have done like Wolf-Dieter Zimmermann and stepped back from our knee-jerk responses to oppression, by first understanding the new tyranny and replacing that in our hearts and minds. That's been the thrust of our Republic of Kanata for many years, and our plan of creating not only a separate political and legal jurisdiction to a criminal society, but a mental and a spiritual independence as well. For we appreciate the truth of Sun Tzu in The Art of War, when he observes that battles are won or lost by armies because of the clarity and the will of their commanders. Well, we who established the Republic of Kanata in 2015 have made many mistakes over the years, and because of that have learned many hard lessons, especially over the past year as the COVID tyranny has descended. One of our biggest errors has been to assume that the minority of self-described awake Canadians are able to take action. We've overestimated their abilities. We assumed from their words that they were ready and able to be free and exercise the self-governance they all spoke about. Well, we've learned the hard way that the opposite is true. As hundreds of people reacted to the new COVID tyranny last spring and filled our ranks, our movement quickly formed dozens of local assemblies across Kanata, and they passed laws banning COVID measures in their communities. But paradoxically, most of these assemblies collapsed quickly after that, because the same people got frightened. They cooled off, they backed off, and they refused to take that risky step of actually enforcing their own sovereignty and their own laws. It's a lot easier just to stand and wave a placard on a protest than to say we are governing ourselves. In many cases, it went even further, and sworn Republic citizens abandoned and betrayed their pledge of citizenship to support one another. They attacked themselves, they attacked each other and me personally, and sabotaged their own assemblies. They often fell back onto the easy route of just going down to the local protest and hearing all the old, same limited speeches saying the same things over and over again, rather than actively building an alternative to the tyranny through a new republic. Well, some of these setbacks are natural and to be expected in a movement filled with inexperienced newcomers. A natural sifting out process does occur between those people who are sunshine patriots and they fall away at the first sign of trouble, as compared to the real fighters who remain through every adversity. And so, indeed, from out of those mistakes and losses, a handful of people have remained true. Our movement is enduring because of those people, and it's now being led by more seasoned veterans who own their own minds, who aren't influenced by smears and rumors, who refuse to betray our original purpose, and who are not afraid to lead others in a battle. Well, like Wolf-Dieter Zimmermann, we have endured by first looking into the mirror whenever we seek the enemy. We understand that the evil facing us runs deep in our culture, is centuries old, and must be overthrown in ourselves in order to overthrow it around us. To draw a comparison from history, which part of history I love, having to do with the English Revolution in the 17th century that overthrew the British monarchy. In the analogy from that time, we veterans are becoming the kind of spiritual warriors in what was called the New Model Army that overthrew the British monarchy in 1649 and established the first republic the world has known, the Puritan Republic under Cromwell. Well, like our movement, the 17th century English Revolution that abolished monarchy went through its tentative birth process and early defeats. According to Oliver Cromwell, one of the Puritan leaders, quote, "Our parliamentary troopers are most of them old, decayed serving men, whilst our royalist enemy are young men of belief and purpose. Do you think that the spirits of such uninspired fellows as we have in our ranks will be ever able to encounter those that have courage and resolution in them? We must get men of a spirit that will survive every defeat and be sustained with a godly ideal. If you do not, I am sure we will be beaten still." And he wrote that to a parliamentary leader in 1642. Well, Cromwell didn't wait around for Parliament to act, but he set about raising such a godly inspired new model army himself. He recruited and trained only those people who shared his Puritan beliefs and zeal for a Bible republic without kings, popes, and bishops. By 1640, his new rejuvenated army was defeating the king's professional army in every battle. And finally, it overthrew monarchy, executed the king, and created the world's first republic in 1649. A republic that is the model of what we do today. As Cromwell commented, "Our soldiers are Christians first and soldiers second, and their high spirit proves stronger than any lack of arms, experience, or numbers. As godly men, they are 100-fold stronger than those who know not why they fight and are led astray by selfish passion. The hand of God is upon our army, and our men trust that hand." Well, our own Republic of Kanata is going through a similar transition right now. From out of the ashes of recent attacks and disruptions, and recent fear and smear campaigns, we are forming and training a smaller but tighter cadre of leaders who have learned how to engage our enemy, the COVID corporatocracy. These local leaders are led first by a common vision of our godly republic of equality, liberty, and self-governance. They are becoming the wheel that is moving many others into action, based on firm principles and a common discipline. We know from experience that this new spirit, combined with tight local organization, can overcome all of the snares and lies sent against us by our enemies. In that regard, let me share for a moment a very instructive example of how we have won against the enemy, the successful tactics we use. Because they often say theory is gray, but the living tree of experience is always green. And I draw on that experience now. Well, we've experienced for some time how any public effort on our part to form local assemblies is quickly targeted for infiltration and disruption by the Canadian state, especially in the West Coast, where all 9 of our assemblies have been sabotaged. For that reason, we've decentralized our work into smaller Republic cell groups of 3 to 5 sworn citizens. These cells are less easily infiltrated, and they're able to take actions quickly and unexpectedly with all the advantages of a small guerrilla movement. Finally, these cells, when seasoned enough, get together and form a durable assembly. This approach has allowed most of our work to remain effective but concealed. We're known only to the immediate people we work with, which covers us as we plant the seeds and build the roots of our republic in many communities, and like many brush fires that cannot be extinguished. However, on occasion, we've deliberately created the public impression that we're working on a larger scale, and we do that to draw the enemy's fire. We do it as a covert operation to flush out our enemies and test their methods, in the way a commander will send out a decoying skirmish line ahead of the main army, to draw the enemy's fire and help him judge their real strength and tactics from a distance. We've done exactly that. A few months ago, we created this kind of skirmish decoy by linking 4 of our local cell groups across Kanata in regular Zoom calls and joint work. Well, these groups were based in Vancouver, the southern interior of BC, south central Ontario, and New Brunswick. Well, sure enough, after barely 6 weeks, this experimental network was disrupted and destroyed by the same fear and smear methods that have wiped out our other assemblies. But this takedown in early March was quicker and more crude than previous attacks, suggesting an urgent desperation by our adversary. Well, we believe 2 events triggered this move against us. The fact that we're convening a national grand jury investigation, and those 4 cell groups were a big part of it, and a public protest held by the Vancouver cell group at known satanic sacrificial sites, including St. Paul's Hospital and the underground tunnel network linking the downtown Vancouver churches with the notorious Vancouver Club, where children disappear. Well, within a week of this protest and the public announcement of the opening of our grand jury, the Vancouver group and then all the other cells switched sides and started unexplainably attacking the Republic and me personally, using the standard rhetoric and lies that the RCMP Black Ops campaign has been putting out against our movement for over 20 years. That same week, combined with this, I then faced not only those attacks and smears from people I'd just been working with the day before, but I was also targeted with a false COVID isolation order by one of the Canadian politicians named in our grand jury indictment, Federal Public Safety Minister Bill Blair. Well, these coordinated attacks were not coincidental. They revealed not only a collusion between our turncoat members and the federal government, but a new level of fear and desperation by our enemy because of the quickness with which they took the bait of our decoy. The skirmish operation helped us by allowing us new insights into our enemy and being able to identify and weed out the weaker and more corruptible people among us. Well, it's only fair and right to note that for many years, I have personally taken on this same skirmisher role to draw upon myself the full fire of our enemy and allow our wider movement to observe and operate against it from a place of concealment. When our friends and foes alike blithely wonder why I'm often the main public spokesman for the Republic, they're not understanding that the requirements of war and the need to keep our strength in leadership hidden and beyond the enemy's reach. That need is all important. We allow our adversary to see only what we want him to see. That is the proven key to success for any small but growing revolutionary movement like ours. Well, I know from experience that I wouldn't be capable of playing that arduous role for so long and having the tremendous impact I've had over the years unless I was armed and protected with an inner spiritual power that's overcome my penniless and persecuted situation for many years. That personal power is the quality of any genuine leader, and frankly, it's what makes people of lesser character hate and revile me. Nevertheless, these dark methods have no power over me or the movements I've inspired. And those pathetic individuals in Vancouver and elsewhere who recently praised me one moment and then stabbed me in the back the next should reflect long and well on that fact and remember that the lowest 9th circle of hell is reserved for those who betray a sacred trust. In fact, the power that's acted through my example and integrity over the years has created signs and revelations in the world that even the most ignorant person cannot deny. By forcing the truth of the Canadian genocide into the open, as well as church-based child killing, by compelling the resignation of Pope Benedict in 2013, by launching a global movement for common law republics, I've revealed the essentially anti-life and satanic nature of the world system and helped set about its dissolution. Well, that power was demonstrated 7 years ago, right about now, at Easter in 2014, when I performed a final exorcism outside the Vatican. In God's name and purpose, I issued a global emancipation proclamation that day that nullified the power and the institution of the Vatican and its offspring, the present global corporatocracy. Well, that action and the divine force that acted through it has torn out the heart of their evil system, and today we are witnessing its collapse from the inside out. All of the overt power and intimidation on its part is designed to conceal its essential collapsing condition. But that disintegration is provoking the full fury of a dying entity and all those it controls, a fury aimed at those who stand outside the group mind, and the spirit of the beast whose outer form we know as the corporatocracy. Our Republic movement has itself been a skirmish line in that battle against this entity, allowing our higher self, our higher presence, to understand and engage with the unseen powers that enslave humanity. We have learned in the process that a judgment is descending on all of us because of our willing compliance with the blood-soaked genocidal system we call civilization. We cannot expect nor should we desire to avoid or overcome that judgment, for it has emerged from among us and from the choices we have made as individuals and societies. By going through its fire, we will learn who is meant to endure and survive it to prove worthy of the new reality embodied in our sovereign Republic of Equals. Well, what all this means in the months ahead is that our movement is streamlining and purifying itself. Our Republic will consist only of those true citizens who share our common vision, our sacrifice, and our discipline in the manner of the new model army. We are that army. We're a purified elect who are part of a new covenant formed between ourselves and God, based solely on God's law and not man's, a covenant that is the basis of our spiritual and political lives. Precisely such a covenant between a chosen few and God formed the basis of the English and the American republics, which emerged from self-governing separate congregations of citizens of heaven who serve Christ alone in opposition to the dark powers of this world. We in the Republic of Kanata stand upon such a covenant as a separated and revolutionary remnant that puts an end to the old world as a new one emerges. Let those chosen to understand step forward now in that sacred struggle. This is Kevin Annett, Eagle Strong Voice. Stand by for more.